Hello and welcome back to the Kid Code Project. Hopefully you have just finished video 3 or 3B if you wanted more information on event-driven programming and you're ready to move on. In this video we are going to look at how the IDE, the Integrated Developers Environment, or the screen where you do everything, as I like to call it, works on the code page. We are going to start right here with our last program, our allowance generator. Hopefully you made it yourself, you ran it, and you tried it on your parents, and if you got a little bit of a raise in your allowance, send me a few dollars if you can. I'd appreciate it. Just kidding. Okay, so what I want to show you is what is really interesting about what they've added to the code part of programming in Visual Basic. On the IDE here, we have all these really cool features built in so we can graphically create our programs. That's wonderful. But we don't always work here. We sometimes work here at our code view. Now, with that said, there's a couple of things to understand. If you saw video 3B, which is about event-driven programming, you would know that if you double-click on any object on your form in your program, it will automatically take you to the code view and create the most common event listener. For example, let's click on this No button 2 times, double-click with the left mouse button, and it created the click event, which is most commonly what happens with buttons, right? Up here on No button 3, we had the mouse hover. We had to select it from the list because it's not the most common. The most common is click. So with that, when you're designing your form, I've gone back to the design view, you can basically select on anything. When you double click it, it will automatically create the most common event listener, which is great. Now what happens if you've already have a event listener for the click and you double click it again? What happens? It takes you to the one it already created. Wonderful. So that helps out quite a bit because mostly with buttons you do click. You don't do on mouse hover because that's for a little. It's unique. The same thing with labels. You really don't use label events very often unless I guess you might go click or something. And then in text box, if you saw video 3B where the text changes, you could use the text changed event, which is the most common one. In fact, let's look at that again real fast. Alright, text box, whoop, let's put it here. It doesn't look right, so let's move over here really fast, folks. Okay, now let's double click on it, and the most common event is text changed. That's great. Now, I want you to understand that the integrated developers environment is basically all in one. And the code page is always watching what's happening on the design page, and the design page is always watching what's happening on the code page, so it makes certain they always work together. Now, I want to show you an example of this right now. Here's the text box 1 text changed event listener. Let's go back to design view. This is text box 1. You see it's right here, text box 1. What happens if we delete it? What happens to the listener, do you think? Do you think it went away? No, it didn't. It's still there. So what really has happened? Well, the text changed event listener is still there. But let's compile it. Let's run F5 for debug. And it ran it just fine. But since it's not there, that event listener will never fire. Okay, it will never happen. You will never get that message, which is fine. But what happens if we add another text box? What do you think it's going to be called? Text box 1. So if you go back to the code view, the listener's still there, which is pretty useful because it's not uncommon for me to add a lot of text boxes and things to a program and then delete them later, but I want to have the ability to have that code still there in case I want to add it back later. It's kind of like oh, I didn't mean to do that, please keep it, because it would not be really useful. Useful is not the word I want to use. What's the word I want to use? It'd be really annoying if you accidentally deleted something here and all the code you've written disappeared. It doesn't. Very cool. Okay. Now, with that said, I want to, let's go ahead and delete it and create it all over again, just for fun. Okay, let's put it in here, and I'm going to copy that label, and I want to paste that label, and I want to change this property of its text to something like, oops, I like caps. I like capital letters. Okay. Enter amount to increase, and basically we could have the person using the program enter the amount of money they're going to increase your allowance here. Okay. So let's go into it and double click this, and it will create the text changed event again for that text box. Now, what we do is, if you watch video 3B, is we write the code inside of the subroutine that will happen when this event listener gets an event. Only the code inside of here will happen when that event happens. So what we do is we basically put our caret here. Now, you're probably wondering, what is a caret? I just pressed the tab button twice to move it in. The caret is this flashing line right here. Now, programmers name things for some of the weirdest things, they really do. But there's an old method to plow a field for farmers, okay, back 100 years ago, before tractors. And they would have mules, donkeys, whatever, and they would tie them to these plows, and the donkey would pull the plow, and the plow would break up the land. It would plow the land. And you could get a donkey to move by one of two things. It was called the caret or the stick, okay? And one way was the stick, which meant you slapped the donkey on its rear end and made it pull it, right? You know, kind of like spanking it, and he was trying to get away from me spanking it, so it would pull the plow. The other was called a caret, which they would, according to legend, is they would connect a stick or a rod or something to the back of the donkey's neck, and would hang over, and they would hang a caret in front of the donkey, just outside of the reach of his mouth, right? So the donkey was always trying to walk to get the caret, but the caret kept moving, so the donkey kept plowing. This is where the name of the caret in programming came from. Like I said, programmers name things strangely. Anyway, this is a caret because the caret is always in front of what you're typing. Like the caret is always in front of the donkey. Now, do you have to know this to be a good programmer? No, but it's pretty interesting trivia. Okay, so there's the caret. Now what you do in the code page is you start to type in the code of what you want to happen in the order you want it to happen. Okay, so let's create some more message boxes. MSGBOX, that is a message box, and there you go. Let's type in message 1. Whoopsie. And I want to capitalize my M so all the teachers out there will not get upset with me for my bad grammar. Now I'm going to do it like this. I'm going to copy it, paste it, and I'm going to paste it again. The way it is right now, I would have one message box pop up and say message 1. And when I clicked OK, the second one would pop up saying message 1, but we don't want to say 1. We want it to say 2, 3. Okay, now when this thing here pops up, if you want to get rid of it, press the escape button, and I'm about to tell you what that is, but let's go ahead and run the code. So when the text change event happens in the text box 1, our listener is going to make a message box that says message 1. We click OK. Message 2 box will show. Click OK. Message 3 box will happen. Click OK, and we're done. F5 to debug. Let's change the text to Q. Message box 1, message box 2, message box 3, and it stops. This code happened in order. So As you work, your caret will be in front of where you're going to type, and the code will happen in order that you write it. Okay? It would not go message 1, 3, and 2 because that's not the order it is. It's message box 1, message box 2, message box 3. Great. Now, I want to talk about this. This right here, this big gray box, is probably one of the coolest things that Microsoft has ever done. Excuse me, pollen again. This is what is called Intellisense, and it really stands for intelligent sensing. What it means is that the Visual Basic program is watching what you're typing, basically, and I bet it's using a text change event to do it. It is watching what we're typing, and it is looking through its memory to find possible outcomes. Okay, so here's our caret on a blank line. We want to create a message box. Let's type M to begin. Instantly, Intellisense starts to give us options, and we can actually go up and down through these options. Okay. Oh wow, look, there it is right there, message box. Let's double click it. And if you can tell, this message box is the long version of this. Okay, don't worry about it. If you want to use Intellisense and just double click the commands, that's correct. Now you also notice that a lot of commands have these brackets, right? So let's put a bracket and add spacing. Okay, now there, gotcha. Okay, what we have is these squiggly lines. Okay, I wanted to show you this because we didn't complete the command. Okay, we didn't complete the Intellisense stuff. Just like Intellisense can tell us, I think it's going to be something with an M, and if we add an S, it narrows it down. There's our message box. That one's good. Here, something's missing, and Intellisense knows it's missing because it knows what should be there. So it gives us this wavy blue line. So it's basically telling us, you messed up, please fix it before you press F5, because if you do press F5, like I'm going to do right now, it won't work. Okay? Intellisense is telling us you've done something wrong, fix it before you try to run it. Saves you a lot of time. Okay? See? There will build errors. Building means is creating the program. It's building your program from what you created here. Would you like to continue from the last successful build? I don't know why I'd ask you that, because if you do want it to run from your last successful build, why did you write code after? Don't know. Just say no. Okay. And now if you move your cursor over the wavy lines, it tells you the problem. It tells us that message box is a type and cannot be used as an expression. To you, that doesn't mean a lot of anything right now, which is perfectly fine, but it does tell us it's wrong. So let's select it and get rid of it. Now, we're at the bottom message box here. I want to back up to activate the Intellisense again, which it just did. Okay? Now, Intellisense has noticed that we typed in this, and it looks for it. So we double click it. We click the bracket, and it gives us new options, because you can have different kinds of message boxes. Now, do you want to remember what they all are? No. In fact, Intellisense will do this for you with everything you type, except for the text that you show on your screen. You know, like message 1 here and message 2, it won't help you there because it assumes you know what you're talking about. It's text that people read. When it comes to programming code, Intellisense will try to help you fix it. Now, here's how you can use it. We typed in message box, so we got the command. Here's the command prompt, and we see this is darker, is bold text, right? Prompt as an object. All it means, the word prompt means text that you show your program's user, which would be message 3. Now, when dealing with text, always use the quotation in the beginning and quotation after your text. That lets Visual Basic know that it's text that people will read, just like if you read a book or a comic book. If somebody says something, there's quotes around it. Same thing. Now, we're done there, and there's a comma here. You see this comma? What happens if we put a comma in our code? The next part becomes bold, and it actually shows us some interesting things. We can actually choose different ways that the message box looks, and Intellisense automatically gives us the options. So let's go with a typical message box says okay. Let's do one that says yes or no. Okay, now we've done that. There's another comma. The next part is now bold. I'm going to move my cam again. Oops, I apologize for that. I'm going to back up and reactivate Intellisense. Title, which means the top of the message box usually shows the name of your program the way you named it, but we can give it a different title. Let's give it a title of message. Oops, terrible. Space. Message. Just like text. Okay? Now you can go on and on and on with this, but we're going to stop right here. Now let's run the code again. We should see message 1, message 2, message 3 that has a yes no button and has a different title. Let's find out. Remember, we're looking for the text changed event. Message 1, message 2, message 3 is the prompt, the text. The box now has a yes or no, and the title is now message. And the only way we were able to do that was by using Intellisense. Now, do you really want to memorize? I'm going to back up here real quick. I'm sorry. Stop debugging. Sorry about that, folks. Press the wrong button. Do you really want to memorize all the different kind of message boxes you can use? I don't. And in fact, there is so much power in Visual Basic that it is, in my opinion, impossible to memorize all these things. That's why Intellisense is so helpful. For example, what if you wanted your message box to say, let's do this. Let's say it's a countdown to destruction. Your computer will self-destruct in 3. Delete. This is taking a little longer than I was planning, but I think this will actually help you quite a bit. We'll make this 2. Oops. Enter. What am I doing now? Oh. Enter. Not delete. Enter. Paste. 1. Okay. Now we want the last one to be, oh no, right? So what's going to happen so far is when the text changes, we're going to see a message box that says your computer will self-destruct in. They click OK. 3. A message box with 3. OK. 2. OK. 1. The Intellisense is helping us out. Boom. Okay. Let's go over and add a comma, and let's pick one that is critical. That kind of sounds cool. Okay. Do we want to add a different title? Nah. Take the comma out and Intellisense adjust for it. Now let's run F5. Let's change the text to activate the text changed event. Doesn't matter what it is. Your computer will self-destruct in 3, 2, 1. Boom! And you probably heard the boom sound too, right? Because this is a critical kind of message box, because it is a message box style. I hope that makes sense, because It's really cool to play with. So, in closing, remember that Intellisense will help you find what you want to do by telling you all the different options you have to choose from. And if you make a mistake, it will give you the blue wavy lines telling you that you've already made a problem. Fix it before you go forward, before you continue. And it is really helpful. All right. Now, there are a lot more features and power to the IDE for the code page, which includes things like debugging and things like that. But we're not going to go into that in this video right now. What I'd like you to do is take a few minutes, go to your allowance generator and create your own events, and then add a series of message boxes that say different things that look differently, and see if you can, how quickly you can master Intellisense. I bet it won't take more than 5 minutes. Go ahead and do that, and I will see you in the next video. And until then, I will see you later.